So, Dana White has been yapping. He has been making the news first at UFC 302, where after Makhachev's big win, he goes on about how Jon Jones is a true pound for pound number one, that nobody else could be number one while he's around. And recently at UFC 303, he defended Jones once more when he was like, well, Pereira can't be pound for pound or anything like that as long as Jones is around. He's been yapping a lot about Jones this, Jones that, but I'm here to argue that Jon Jones is not the true pound for pound number one. And there are a lot of really good arguments that can be made against him and can be made instead for Makhachev and Pereira, the two guys who I think deserve pound for pound. It's either between Makhachev or Pereira. I'm going to make my argument why either one of them could get it. So without further ado, let's start off with what does pound for pound even mean. So this is something that kind of I think gets glossed over. When you mention pound for pound, it's you strip away all the weight classes. You just look at who is the best fighter in the world, not who would win between the best heavyweight and the best flyweight. We all know that, right? It's not anything like that because the higher weight division, which would be heavyweight, would always win. It's you take away the weight classes, who's the best in their division compared to everybody else, the accolades that they're currently achieving, who's the best and who's had a more impressive run. So yes, it's very time based, right? You can't just say, well, Jon Jones has been undefeated for however long and he has a win over Lyoto Machida back then. I mean, in that case, should Anderson Silva be on the pound for pound list? I mean, it's current, it's looking at who's at the top right now. And I think that Dana loves to bring up Jones's accomplishments in the past, but what about currently, right? Like, Jon Jones has only fought once post February 2020. In February 2020, he fought Dominic Reyes, and he arguably lost that fight, right? Like, activity does matter here. It's not about your accolades throughout your career. Pound for pound is very much activity based, who's the best currently. You can't have one fight post 2020, like one fight in 4 years, and immediately be put at number one, right? If activity doesn't count, let's put Anderson Silva and GSP up there as well. And the last time he fought in the light heavyweight division, it was Thiago Santos, was still in the UFC, and Dominic Reyes was the top ranked contender, right? Thiago Santos no longer in the UFC. He's already had a fight for PFL, and Dominic Reyes has had like 4 or 5 fights, and he's lost like 4 of them, won one or something like that. He also barely scraped out victory. So Dana saying that, oh well, Jones is pound for pound number one because he's so dominant. Who aside from Cyril Gane, who has he really dominated in the past 2 years? He got embarrassed by Dominic Reyes, and he almost lost to a one-legged Thiago Santos. He could have lost both fights, and nobody could complain, right? He got a split decision against Thiago Santos, and he was given a robbery decision over Dominic Reyes. And that's not even looking at the fact that he has multiple PED failures. So when you combine all of these things together, a win over Cyril Gane up at heavyweight puts you in the pound for pound, of course, because he is a former champion and he's a current champion, but that does not make him number one. And I think that two men have a much better argument for being at the top of that list, starting off with Islam Makhachev, right? So Islam's been pretty open ever since the Alexander Volkanovski fight that, hey, the winner of that fight is going to be pound for pound number one. He was actually, I'm pretty sure Dana even promised them that, and it never happened, right? Makhachev has fought 8 times in the span of the time that Jones has fought twice. And he's won every single one of them, Makhachev has. His victories include Dan Hooker, Oliveira, Volkanovski ×2, and Poirier. Jon Jones's victories from 2020 to 2024 include Dominic Reyes, who's currently, I think, 15th ranked, 14th ranked, and Cyril Gane. That's it. Whereas Makhachev has wins over multiple former champions, Volkanovski and Oliveira. If you combine the 2 wins over Volkanovski, that's 3 wins over champions. And then Poirier is a former interim champ, and one of the best in his division ever. He only has 1 loss in the UFC, and he's finishing his opponents, right? Jon Jones is going to decisions with Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes, and he's arguably losing them. And Makhachev's out here dominating his opponents, finishing them off, head kicking Volkanovski, submitting Poirier, and he's looked phenomenal. So I think Makhachev, there's a really good argument to be made that Makhachev is the pound for pound best fighter in the world, and he's continuously proving it every time he steps in there. But if you're not going to give it to Makhachev, fine. There's one other guy, and it's not Jon Jones. There's one other guy that you could make the argument deserves to be pound for pound number one, and that's Alex Pereira. So he made his debut in 2021, 1 year after Jones had his last fight, right? And between 2021 to present, he has fought 9 times. So Islam Makhachev from 2020 to 2024 fought 8 times. Pereira from 2021 to current has fought 9 times, and he's captured the belt in 2 weight divisions. He holds victories over 5 former champions, and if you include Yuri twice, which he just got the victory over, 6 victories over title holders, 9 fights. Like, that is an just insane statistic, and he's only lost one in his tenure, and that's against one of the goats of his division at the time, which was middleweight. And he also has a win over Adesanya anyways, and Adesanya did not want to smoke in that rematch at all. I mean, this guy, and Pereira's finishing guys, he's had 1 decision, I think, or he's had 2 actually because of Bruno Silva. So in his 9 fights, he's had 2 decisions. Everybody else he's knocking out. Even when he lost, it was through KO, right? Like, this guy is not going to decisions, and it's a lot more impressive than whatever Jon Jones has done, right? Knocking out Yuri Prohaska twice, knocking out Israel Adesanya, and knocking out Sean Strickland, which is a very impressive win in hindsight, is more impressive than almost losing to Dominic Reyes, being given a robbery decision, and then submitting Cyril Gane. Like, that was impressive. I don't want to take it away that he went up a weight class and submitted a guy. But in a lot of ways also, if you look at it, it was kind of a tailor-made fight. Cyril Gane is not known. He got out-grappled by Francis Ngannou, who's a striker, who's currently in boxing. Francis Ngannou did not go and enter one of Paul Craig's, what do you call it? Paul Craig Jones, I don't remember which, I get mixed up. He didn't enter one of those, like, jiu-jitsu competitions, did he? He went to boxing. Whereas Pereira's out here and he's knocking dudes out left and right. It's either got to be Pereira or Makhachev, right? Even if you say, well, Pereira's had strikers, he's fought nothing but strikers, but at least he has 9 fights, 8 wins. You know what I mean? Like, at least let's give him that. And I think that was all. I was gonna put Tom Aspinall, but thinking about it, I just think Makhachev and Pereira have a better argument, and Aspinall does hold the interim belt, whereas Pereira's undisputed, as is Makhachev. So I'm not going to put Aspinall. I think Pereira and Makhachev have proven that they're the best currently in the world. Dana's just yapping. People are saying that maybe Jones has something on Dana. I don't think it's that. I think the Guru said it probably a while ago, which is something like Jon Jones is the GOAT. He, at least in most people's minds, he's seen as the GOAT. He's like the Michael Jordan for the UFC, and he's like their big thing, aside from Conor McGregor, that I don't think most people consider McGregor the GOAT, right? So the UFC has this one guy who they could kind of put on that Michael Jordan level, and they want to market him like that, right? It makes the UFC look good. Like, look at our top, fighter who's on the level of these guys in other sports. And he wants to make him look good for that reason, which is silly to me because Jones is probably not going to stick around much longer anyways. And Pereira has come on short notice multiple times now, saved pay-per-views, whereas Jones has destroyed pay-per-views, whether it's been PEDs or just refusing to take a short notice fight. Makhachev has been on a complete tear. He's been a massive superstar worldwide. And I think these two have made a much better argument. So I don't know what Dana's on about. It doesn't matter either way. These are the 2 men who deserve to be pound for pound number one. Either one, it doesn't matter. If Pereira's 1, Makhachev's 2. If Makhachev's 1, Pereira's 2. And Jones is maybe lower 10s, maybe like 8 or 9. I don't know. You could argue Leon Edwards is above Jones because at least Edwards is fighting, right? Not often, but at least he's fighting. So yeah, there you go. There's why I feel like Jones doesn't deserve pound for pound number one, and why I think Pereira and Makhachev deserve it over him. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.